So welcome back to my channel. It's Angela, and I just realized that I haven't done my cards of the month of November. And I was just sitting here edging my Trick or Treat tarot in this cool green to match this and some of the green, and I think it's really coming out, like really pulling that green out, which is cool. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Should I have done it in, I halfway through doing this, I'm not done, I still got this much of the deck to go. But, as I was doing these, I'm like, you know what, I could have done it in the orange and, purple, and then just had like a crisscross pattern on that, but I really did want to do the green. It's my favorite color. Any chance I get to do a deck in green, and I just thought it'd be cool to do this green here. I went a little darker just because it lightens up when it dries, and I think it's really pulling that green out. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about if you're just tuning in, every month I do a video where I talk about the cards I pulled at the beginning of the year in my year ahead spread. And this year I decided, because I wanted to specifically try to work with these two decks more, which is this one is the Dream Keepers Tarot right here, and then this one is the Ferric Pinter Tarot. I wanted to get a more in-depth look into these decks, and whatever deck I get the previous year, usually if that's a deck that I know I want to deep dive into, that's the deck I will do a year ahead spread, and then every month contemplate the cards. So I'm getting a little bit more in depth with that specific deck. This year I decided to do two, the Dream Keepers and the Ferric Pinter, and for the most part they're either the yin and yang of each other, or they're like one just basically supports the other, or they're like the light and shadow aspect of things. So I found that very interesting that that's how these two are working together this year, and I think they work really well together. So the cards I drew in January for the month of November was the Ten of Wands from the Dream Keepers and the King of Swords from the Ferric Pinter. Aesthetically, no, these do not go together. And did you see that? There's like a little something flew. Maybe it was me reaching. I don't know. It's weird because I've started to notice I get a lot more flyers. Something flying through here lately. So the Ten of Wands is kind of my pseudo stalker card this year, because to me the Ten of Wands is all about carrying a heavy burden uphill. It's an uphill battle. You're carrying this burden. And I love the decks that depict, because I have a couple of decks, and I could have probably brought those out, talk about them a little bit better. The Ten of Wands usually is an uphill battle with a heavy load on your back. And I love the decks that depict either them setting it down or having another person in the deck helping them carry that load, because there are no rules set that say you have to carry it alone, or that you can't take breaks while you're carrying your heavy load. Set it down for a while, rest, relax, have an edit on the town, and then pick it up again and start carrying it. I do have one deck, the Superlunaris Tarot, that I actually get the vibe, and I love the Ten of Wands in that deck. It's a little old, like, I want to say Mexican lady. She's walking with her bundle of sticks down a sidewalk, and it almost get the feeling like this is her job. She's carrying this heavy burden because she has a family to support, and I thought that was a very interesting take on the Ten of Wands as well. And for the month of November, it was not so much carrying a heavy burden, just, well, it did feel like there was a weight carrying me down, but most of it was from a financial standpoint. Christmas is coming, and there's all these things, this to-do list I have to do, and it keeps growing, ever growing larger the more closer we get to the holidays, and financially, there's no way to tackle it all. And so that kind of was my heavy burden in November, which carried over into December, and then I still deal with it all the time, but my husband is kind of like, hey, you don't have to carry this burden alone. I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. And so that's kind of helped me breathe in the last couple of days to realize the Ten of Wands. What I love about the Ten of Wands is that you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. And so let's read in the book, because like I say every month, the Dream Keepers Tarot book, it's by Liz Houston, is the creator. This book alone is worth this deck. The book alone is worth the deck. It's amazing. Okay, so we gotta go back. It is amazing. And there's quite a bit to read here. It says, Ten of Wands, burdened by taking on more than you can handle. An uprooted female figure travels across the expanse of an eerie sky. She's intertwined in flight with a skeleton companion as they both gaze into the mirror of fate. If you haven't noticed, there is a mirror there. And they're both looking into it. And it almost looks like there's a third face coming out of the mirror that's different than their face. Interesting. Hold on one second. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Together they soar and strain in carrying 10 blooming wands. The Ten of Wands represents an excess of burdens. It symbolizes taking on more than we can reasonably handle, refusing to say no, or accepting all the blame. It's choosing to do things the hard way and feeling burdened by it. That's interesting. That's why I love this book. It takes you to another level of thinking with each card. Gazing at the image on the card, we immediately know their adventure would be much easier without having to carry such a complex load. Yet they continue on, arms so full of wands that they are ready to stumble to the ground at any moment. This card represents burdens that can be physical, mental, or emotional, and often self-imposed. Wands are an energetic suit, symbolic of fire, suggesting that this particular burden is so great that it is in danger of sapping one's life force. Wow. And that could be why the skeleton is there. Maybe that is her life force that's coming through because she's so burdened down. Wow. When this card appears, you should ask yourself how you can lighten your own load as you're working too hard and in need of a break. Even great athletes know there is such a thing as overtraining. And it makes me think of, even in a mental capacity, you know how, I don't know if it happened to you guys, but if I studied and studied and studied and studied and studied for a test, so it's like beating a broken record, I would usually do worse on it than if I barely studied sometimes, because I overstudied. I over-prepared and then forgot everything and immediately upon trying to take the test. So that's interesting. Find a way to schedule in some R&R so that you do not overextend yourself and bring on more problems wrought by fatigue. Perhaps you feel you can't let any of the burdens go. In that case, the best you can do is learn to say no, not add any further stress or enlist help. So you could always ask for help in the Ten of Wands. It's just no one ever does. Or they forget that they can ask for help. There's no rule saying that you can't ask for help first from somebody to carry your load, help carry the load. The most successful people in business know the value of delegating. For many hands make light work. Take a page from their book and remember, you don't necessarily have to carry the weight entirely on your own. The Ten of Wands can also speak of carrying a disproportionate burden in a relationship. Perhaps one of the parties feels more responsible for the health of the relationship than the other, and thus makes concessions to keep the other person happy. Unfortunately, this never results in a balanced relationship, as it tends to be rooted in a deeper issue, which can breed contempt. It is vital to only take responsibility for what belongs to you, especially in relationships. Interesting. And then it says, the divinatory message. When feeling the burden implied in the Ten of Wands, bear in mind that there are solutions available. You may have been under intense pressure, but in this case, because the weight is often self-imposed, you can make the necessary changes. You have the power to manifest a solution, simplify your life, and take action to lighten the burden right now. So why are you making things harder on yourself than they need be? As educator and poet Najwa Zebian eloquently wrote, these mountains that you are carrying, you are only supposed to climb. Kind of got chills. Keywords: upright, burdens, overextending, struggle, need for delegation, burnout, reverse, fear of responsibility, turning point, and problem solved. I love this book for this deck. It's just amazing. It gives you detailed information about the card itself, and then it gives you detailed divinatory meanings, messages. Yeah, it's an amazing book, and that does go quite well with what I experienced in the month of November. So let's talk about the King of Swords. The King of Swords here almost appears as if his head is in a in a vice. It's just his head. But upon reading the book, and I'll read it to you real quick, he's just adorned with a bunch of stuff. Let me find it here. And it's just a quick blurb on the card itself. If I can find it. It's a typical Los Scarabero, but it's got a little tad bit more information than you normally see in a typical Los Scarabero book. King of Swords. Description: a king in full royal regalia stares straight ahead, surveying all that he rules. Essence: the King of Swords is the ultimate strategist. I can't read it. He commands shrewdly and expects his orders to be obeyed. In a reading possessing an unparalleled intellect, this king appreciates results and rational thinking. He is like a chess player that is forever thinking several moves ahead of his opponent. This is a time for cold calculation and a thoughtful approach to your situation. Let your head rule your heart, taking careful and methodical steps with a keen eye for the finer details often missed by others. Note the man on horseback in the distance. So there is a man on horseback in the distance. Here's my feeling on this particular card. Okay. When it says he's a shrewd, calculated thinker, it's almost like there's an overcompensation there that I need to go back and examine exactly why I've become this shrewd, cold, calculated person in a time where maybe the calculation shouldn't be as calculated. I should, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, because I'm a Virgo, and I have to have everything in their place, everything orderly, everything organized, but that isn't always the approach to go. It's maybe be a little bit more laid back, a little bit more relaxed in your thinking and your thought process. And often, to me, because I do resonate with the Queen and King of Swords, you can also become so all about the rigidity of things that you come off as this harsh, horrible person, and you're not. You're just, because you're so, you don't want to be in a situation where you're hurt again, so you shut everything down. And maybe that's to me what it's saying for the month of November was, maybe you shouldn't be this solid in your ways. You should maybe let some emotion in, kind of melt your heart a little bit. Because something happened at the beginning of December that I needed to be more emotional than I was, and I'm still not sure if I was emotional enough. At the beginning of the year, I told you guys my card of the year was strength, and I knew in December of last year that I was going to need every reserve of strength I had this year. Not just for, I mean, there's a massive amount of hospitals, doctors, hospital visits I went to this year, all trying to find out what's going on with my health, which I still haven't completely figured out all year long. I knew going into this year that I would need all the strength, but as the year is coming to an end, I'm realizing, I probably started realizing this in August, September, that just because you have the strength doesn't mean you have to be that person that carries all the burden. You don't have to be that person that has everything mapped out and organized and your thoughts all together. You just have to be maybe strong for somebody else. And so I found that quite beautiful, because all year long I've kind of been cursing the strength card, because I'm like, what more can you pile on me this year? But I'm realizing it may not be just that I need the strength, that maybe I need that strength to lend to other people. Like I said, my grandmother passed away in February, and then on December 2nd, my stepmother passed away suddenly, and my father is kind of like, for the first time in his life, alone. And for the first time in a long time, he has no idea what to do with his days, his life even. And he's very ill right now, and I'm just praying that he makes it through that. So that kind of opened my mind in December and made me realize these cards were gearing me up for December, and for that shift in thinking that maybe I won't need all the reserves of strength for myself. Maybe I need it for someone else, and I need to stop being so rock solid in my thinking and just kind of learn to relax and maybe be that shoulder somebody else needs to cry on. So that was my cards of the month of November. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to comment below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you're alerted to any future videos. And you guys have a good night. Bye.